Rachel level 3, and Rebecca is in level 4. Hi guys, this is going to be my last vlog for the spring of 2017. I can't believe it already. It's the last day of spring. Tomorrow is the first day of summer. And I wanted to talk to you about personal finances. I bring it up because you might be wondering, how could I afford going on a trip to the Philippines? I'm in Canada. It's halfway around the world. And it's very simple. If you don't have any house payment, you don't have any car payment, it's very easy to quickly save up money for a trip overseas. So I want to get into my big six principles that I use to manage my finances. So the first thing I think is very important is you need to track your finances. You need to track every penny. It's important that you know what you're spending on before you can make any kind of decision. So what I like to do is break it down into different categories. What I suggest that you do is experiment a bit, experiment with this. So you can start with the basics like food, shelter, clothing, supplies. And what I do is it's really hard to track every single possibility in terms of category. So what I like to do is I always like to put a miscellaneous category in there. And what I do is over time, when I put stuff into miscellaneous, I start asking myself, should I make a new category for these things I'm putting in there? And that helps me be able to, it's like a catch-all for tracking my finances. The next principle you need to do is you need to plan for your future. I'm talking about a budget or a spending plan. The idea is that it's a plan for the future. It's a financial plan that allows you to make goals for the current month or for the current year. When I was a student, I used a 4-month budget because that's how long a trimester or semester was. You want to be able to repeatedly track your progress over time, and it's very important that you plan your future. If you want a good future, if you want a good financial future, you want to plan trips, you need to have a plan. And you might need to sit down with your spouse and go over that. I sit down with my spouse, Cora, every month. We go over our plan and we make fine adjustments. We can't make decisions on without both of our inputs. The third principle that I use is always live off last month's income. So never live paycheck to paycheck. Always take the money that you have from last month, the money that you made, and use that to apply to the expenses for the current month. So right now it's June. So I'm using the money my wife and I made in May. This avoids a lot of problems. It avoids you having to shuffle bills around, having to do post-dated checks, having to ask friends for money because, you didn't have you were still waiting for your paycheck, and moving money around between accounts. Just keep at least a month's worth of money in a checking account and use that. You can theoretically pay all your bills on the first day of the month, have them all done. The fourth principle that I have is don't give money to the rich. And I know that sounds very trivial and very simple. Of course, who would give money to the rich, right? What I'm talking about here is avoid borrowing money. We do this as a society. We borrow money for a car, we borrow money for a house, we borrow money for school, we borrow money for groceries. We're always borrowing money, and the interest costs a lot. A typical credit card in Canada is 20% interest. So if you take $30,000 and you put it on a credit card and you pay it off, you're looking at like $500 a month, just in interest, just purely interest. It's like a car payment right there, right? So don't do that. Don't give money to the rich. I know it's hard with a house. People want to, buy a home, and they don't want to pay a landlord rent. I get that. But if you're going to borrow on a home, consider putting down at least 25%. We made the mistake ourselves of putting down 5%, and all you end up doing in the first couple of years is pretty much pay interest. I mean, you're not even paying down in hardly any principal. Most of that money that you're paying goes to bankers, right? So just don't do that. Pay it down as quickly as you can, and in fact, if you can avoid borrowing at all for a home, do it. I know people who have built their own homes. If you need to rent and save, that's good too, but just consider avoid all kind of consumer loans with credit cards. We rarely use them, but we do use them for maybe occasionally for things like maybe booking a hotel room or booking a flight, but we really try to avoid credit card use. And number 5 is spend less than you earn. There's 2 ways of spending less than you earn. One way is to invest. So include in your monthly plan, your monthly budget, make sure you have a component there that's either savings or investing. The second way is to overestimate expenses and underestimate your income. So if you have expenses like groceries, it fluctuates from month to month a little bit depending on how many weeks are in the month and so on. You're going to want to overestimate a little bit, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5%. Same thing with eating out. Or if you have a salary and it fluctuates, your contract work or part-time or whatever, and your paychecks are going to vary, underestimate them a little bit. Over time, what's going to happen is you're actually going to make more than you estimated, and you're going to spend less than you've estimated, and overall that'll increase your net worth over time. The next thing is expect the unexpected. Make sure that you build up a reserve, emergency fund. You're typically looking at 3 to 6 months worth of income. If you're a manager, you're gonna want a year. It's harder to find a managerial positions. This is good for life-altering events. You're losing your job, people get sick, people die. I mean, life happens, and you got to take care of it. Keep a positive view of the future. When we think that the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, that's a very negative, fatalistic attitude. We need to take responsibility for our own finances. I don't believe that the poor have to get poorer. I don't believe that the rich necessarily have to get richer. I mean, there's cases where rich people become poor, and there's cases where poor become rich. I think if you have a good plan in place and you plan to get wealthier in the future, I think it's possible. I mean, I think it's more than possible. I think you're going to succeed. So you need to focus on making your future better. You need to do things today. You need to make decisions today that will impact your future in a positive way. You're going to avoid a lot of financial problems if you follow these principles. The best thing you can do for your friends and your relatives is take care of yourself and never ask them for financial help. Those are my basic principles, and I look forward to the summer. Look forward to continuing on with a new summer vlog. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, consider subscribing. I'm gonna have more tips in the future, and I'm it's my pleasure to help you guys, and enjoy.